I did have something you might like to show these people.
What might that be?
An idea from ancient Atlantean history. An idea that might change the hearts and lives of all the Atlantean people. The scroll I have here.
I already got one of those.
Not like this one. This is a lost key to the Trident that belonged to the old king of Atlantis.
Never heard of him.
King Atlan? He changed our lives forever.
Okay. Yep, still doesn't ring a bell.
Not the point. We need a king to build the Trident, to restore peace to the lives and kingdom of all of Atlantis.
King. Throne. Amen.
A year ago from today, I saw a DCEU film that would become my favorite DC movie of all time. Until Joker. But Aquaman is still my #1 favorite DCEU film for me. I knew nothing about him or the universe, and I loved every minute of it on the screen. I had to see it again and again. So today I'm going to show you how to make the lost Atlantean artifact that would make Momoa become the protector of the deep.
Hey ladies and gents, I'm just breaking character once again right here. This is going to be part 1 of a 2-part Aquaman special, and unfortunately I can only give you the first one right now because it is the 1-year anniversary of Aquaman, and I wanted to get this out as soon as I possibly could. As of right now, I don't have Black Manta's helmet, and that is going to be part 2. Part 2 will be out within 1 to 2 months, but if you want to get that episode much faster, you can do so by helping me to go over on Patreon, donating just as little as $1. That would help me out so much. If you don't want to, that's completely fine too. Now back to the episode.
Here's what you'll need for this project. A leftover sheet of insulation foam, 3 sheets of 2mm craft foam, a sheet of 5mm craft foam, at least 6 feet of 3/4 inch PVC, 1/2 inch PVC, X-Acto knife, 2 wooden dowels that are 3/4 inches each in diameter, a wooden dowel with a diameter of 5/8 inches, a wooden dowel that's 7/16 inches in diameter, epoxy, sandpaper or sanding sponges, 9-gauge wire, heat gun, spackle, Mod Podge, contact cement, Dremel, and a tiny screw. To start the project, here's a diagram of how I pieced it together. The wire and the wooden dowel will make up the points of the trident inside of a smaller piece of PVC pipe, another wooden dowel for the cross decoration, and the long pipe for the body. Now to build the trident. I started with a template. More info on my templates on my Facebook. I traced the template on a sheet of insulation foam. I also drew where the peaks of the trident should be. After that, I cut around it and taped it to another piece of insulation foam and cut it out with my bandsaw. I made sure to cut along the outside of my markings and taped the pieces together again when I cut a section out. Once it was all cut out, I took the tape off and separated the halves. Using the 9-gauge wire, I bent it into shape for the outside points and made sure that they lined up in the peaks of the trident head. Using the template, I gauged how much of the wooden dowel I'll need for the middle point, and how much of the smaller diameter PVC I'll need to make the head of the trident. I drilled a hole big enough for the wire to pass through and set it in the PVC to mark off where to cut a dip where the wire can sit. I also sanded the wooden dowel to a point for an easier fit for later. Using painter's tape, or masking tape if you want, I wrapped the bottom of the dowel to make it snug to fit in the PVC. I sanded the outside of the smaller PVC to make it fit in the 3/4 inch PVC. I then traced the wire and the dowel piece on the outside of both halves to make a channel for it to join smoothly. Before I did that, I cut the angles off the faces of the trident head. Don't worry if it's not smooth, we'll be covering these. I used an X-Acto knife, a Dremel with a milling bit, and a sanding drum to make the channel. Make sure that you make room towards the bottom to fit the 1/2 inch PVC. tested the fit, and once it's good, I used epoxy to hold everything together. Some edges tried to separate, so I used painter's tape to make sure they stayed closed, then let it set up. Once that was dry, I gauged where the cross decor should go. I cut a piece of wooden dowel that's 5/8 inches in diameter and drilled a hole big enough for the dowel to pass through. I did run into the dowel for the middle point when drilling, so I sanded that away and made room for the bigger dowel. I placed the dowel inside and hot glued it into place. I then made another template for the bottom design of the Trident. I cut out 2 of these using 5mm craft foam. I then cut them into 3 separate pieces and cut angles along the outside. I even cut a big enough half circle for it to fit around the 3/4 inch PVC. Using contact cement, I attached them back together. I used a heat gun to flatten the bottom of the PVC and cut it to a point to help the bottom fin piece fit. But before I attached it to the PVC, I drilled a hole to screw in a small screw and used hot glue to help it stay in. This way, when you set the Trident down, or bang it like Momoa, the bottom of the Trident won't be damaged. Then glue both halves of the fin to the bottom of the PVC. Now to cover the faces of the Trident. I used epoxy and sheets of 2mm craft foam to cover one angle of the head at a time. I laid down the edge of the craft foam along the peak of the point and cut away the extra. On the outer forks, I attached the bottom corners to the top half of the cross piece and half of the middle stem. Epoxied it to the fork and cut off the excess. I covered the bottom half of the cross piece and then glued on layers of strips, which I covered with more craft foam, to give it a concave shape. Same with the end of the cross, I put a smaller shaped circle to cover it, to make that a convex shape. I covered the section where the forks meet with more foam and sanded it to blend it in. If you're using a Dremel to sand, use a lower setting to prevent taking off too much or so it doesn't chew through it. You'll have more control if you go slower. Now that the head of the Trident is covered, I used more of the 3/4 inch dowel to cut off the length and extend the head, and this will also add more support to the Trident. I sanded one end so it would fit into the smaller PVC and epoxied it in. The 2 3/4 inch dowels will go into the 3/4 inch PVC. This will add durability and take out the flexibility. I made sure to cut the second 3/4 inch dowel down for more space to fit the forks. Using more painter's tape, I made sure it was a snug fit. Now to add the Atlantean ruins on the Trident. I looked at a lot of reference photos and guessed the placement for some of the lines and shapes. I lightly cut the lines into the Trident head and used a heat gun to open them up. I did the same on the bottom of the Trident. After that, I covered where the seams met on the head with spackle. I tried to keep it as smooth as I could. When it dried, I sanded all imperfections and cleaned out the ruins. I then inserted the head of the Trident into the body using more tape and epoxy. I made sure to line up the faces of the head with the bottom. I added more foam to the bottom of the cross piece and connected them smoothly. More sanding, more spackle, sanding. I used a marker to draw the runes on the body of the Trident before using a Dremel to etch them. I also sanded smooth the ruins in the body of the Trident. The head and the bottom get coated with a layer of Mod Podge, then 2 layers of Plasti Dip spray. And the whole Trident gets a coat of primer. Then once dry, do 1 to 2 layers of shiny gold. Let dry, and you're done.
wish that were real.
Good. Now that you're finally here, I can finally have my revenge.
Who the hell are you?
Maybe this will jog your memory.